I'll call this meeting to order. It's the regularly scheduled meeting of the Transportation and Public Works Committee this day, March 9th, 2020. I'm Councilman Reich. I chair the committee, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilmembers Palmisano, Bender, and Fletcher. We are a quorum, and we'll proceed with today's agenda, of which we have 12 items. They include a discussion, consent, and 3 public hearings. I'll go through the consent items. Committee members can pull them for further deliberation at their wish. Item 4 is the Wordplay Large Block Event Permit for May 9th, 2020. 5 is the Rock Garden Large Block Event Permit, June 20th. 6 is the Minnesota Green Corps Program application to host a Green Corps member for the 2020-2021 program year. 7 is the contract amendment with Egan Companies Incorporated for the Leamington and Hoff Parking Ramp Lighting Retrofit Project. 8 is the cooperative construction agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for the 3rd Avenue South Bridge Project Water Main and Traffic Infrastructure. 9 is the joint powers agreement with the MnDOT for the 3rd Avenue Bridge Project Traffic Control Mitigation. 10 is the 2020 Street Resurfacing Program amendment for the Fuller South residential designation. And 11 is the traffic zones restrictions and controls for the 4th quarter 2019 report. Does anyone wish to pull an item for discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the items as submitted, say aye. Dissenting name. That carries. We can now go to the public hearing, starting with public hearing number 1. Good morning, Director Hutchinson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation and Public Works Committee. We have 3 public hearings today. The first is for the Fuller South Residential Street Resurfacing Project. This is for approval and assessment. Information will be presented by Larry Matsumoto with the Transportation Maintenance and Repair Group.
Good morning.
Good morning, committee members. Good morning, committee chair, members of the Transportation Public Works Committee. My name is Larry Matsumoto, and I'm a principal professional engineer in the Transportation Maintenance and Repair Division. I'm here to present to you the Fuller South Residential Resurfacing Project and to recommend passage of a resolution ordering the work to proceed in adopting special assessments in the amount of $547,252.30 for the Fuller South Residential Resurfacing Project and the 2020 Street Resurfacing Program Project number 2331F, and the passage of a resolution requesting the Board of Estimation and Taxation to authorize the city's issuance and sale of assessment bonds in the amount of $547,252 for the Fuller South Residential Resurfacing Program. On December 13th, 2019, the City Council designated the local location, streets, and improvements proposed to be made in the 2020 resurfacing program for the project number 2331. The Fuller South Residential Street Resurfacing Project was included in that designation. Fuller South Residential is bounded by 50th Street West on the north, Stevens and Interstate 35W on the east, West Minnehaha Parkway on the south, and Lindale Avenues on the west. These streets in the Fuller South are local city streets and were reconstructed in 1969 and have a current PCI of 49. The total project cost is $728,058, and the project's length is 3.6 miles of streets. The project scope is a 2.0-inch mill and overlay with select curb and gutter replacement. Public Works hosted a community meeting on March 2nd at the Fuller Recreation Center with 317 invitations, and a total of 14 attendees came to the meeting. The proposed street resurfacing special assessments were determined by applying the 2020 uniform assessment rates to the land area of the benefited parcels located within the street influence zone. Along with the improved streets, these assessments are not calculated based on the project cost alone. The city uses a formula that combines the influence area with the annually established uniform assessment rate. This formula is carefully considered and applied by city staff, and it is intended to account for and reflect each project's value to the benefited properties. The City Council has passed resolutions whereby deferment of special assessments may be obtained by showing hardship for any homestead property owner, by a person of 65 years of age or older or retired, or by a permanent and total disability. That is my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions per the staff presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anyone signed in? No one signed in. Anyone wish to come forward? Anyone wish to come forward? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and move the item before us. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. That carries. We can go to item 2.
Got it. Members of the committee, item 2 is a public hearing for 37th Avenue Northeast Street Resurfacing Project for project approval and assessment. Information is presented by Chris Dedeen with Transportation Engineering and Design.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Councilor Wright, members of the committee. I am Chris Dedeen, a professional engineer in the Public Works Department. Today I'm presenting for the public hearing on the 37th Avenue Northeast Resurfacing Project, which was designated on December 13th, 2019 as part of the 2020 Street Resurfacing Program. The proposed project is located on 37th Avenue between 5th Street Northeast and Central Avenue Northeast. The work consists of select curb and gutter replacement, a mill and overlay of the roadway surface, and installation of new pavement markings. The 37th Avenue Northeast was reconstructed in 1981, making it almost 40 years old, and it has a current pavement condition index, or PCI, of 63 out of 100. The city is coordinating bike ped striping and trail improvements along 37th Avenue Northeast with the City of Columbia Heights and the resurfacing work. Planning, design, and outreach for the trail improvements are being completed in a separate but coordinated effort by the City of Columbia Heights. Bicycle signing and striping improvements between University and 5th Street Northeast are being delivered in conjunction with the trail improvements. There is not an assessment associated with the bike ped improvements. The proposed street resurfacing special assessments were determined by applying the 2020 uniform assessment rates to the land area of benefited parcels located within the street area of influence zone. The resurfacing rates for 2020, 66 cents per square foot for non-residential, 22 cents per square foot for residential. The City of Minneapolis did host a community meeting on the evening of Wednesday, March 14th at the Waite Park Recreation Center, which no members of the community attended. Today, Public Works is asking City Council to pass resolutions ordering the work to proceed, adoption of the special assessments in the amount of $64,405.96, and passage of a resolution requesting the Board of Estimate and Taxation to authorize the city's issuance and sale of assessment bonds for the same amount. That concludes my presentation, and I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions per the staff presentation? Seeing none, I will then open the public hearing. Anyone signed in? Anyone wish to come forward and make comment on item 2? Anyone wish to come forward? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and move the item as presented by staff. Any discussion from the committee? See none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Dissenting nay. That carries, and we can now go to public hearing number 3.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the third and final public hearing for today is the areaway abandonment at 3 properties, 2303 Kennedy Street Northeast, 2330, and 2345 Kennedy Street Northeast. Information is presented by Adam Hayo with Transportation Engineering and Design.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Adam Hayo. I'm a professional engineer with our Transportation Engineering and Design Division at Public Works. Today I'm here presenting for the public hearing for the areaway abandonment and removal for the Mid-City Industrial Reconstruction Project, City Project number 2292. During design, the city found an areaway existing within city right-of-way along Kennedy Street Northeast, west of Stinson Boulevard. An areaway is a below-ground extension of the building into city right-of-way. In this case, the areaway was an abandoned tunnel that ran underneath Kennedy Street Northeast, connecting 3 adjacent properties. The addresses of those properties are 2303 Kennedy Street Northeast, 2330 Kennedy Street Northeast, and finally 2345 Kennedy Street Northeast. The areaway was in conflict with the city's street reconstruction project and needed to be removed. The 3 affecting property owners were provided an opportunity to self-perform the areaway abandonment work consistent with the process set out in city ordinance. The property owners ultimately declined to complete the work, and therefore the city proceeded to undertake the abandonment of the areaway as part of the overall street reconstruction project. The city completed the removal of the areaway existing within city right-of-way this past construction season for a total cost of $155,000 and $155,912.29. Today, Public Works is asking City Council to pass resolutions adopting and levying the special assessments and authorizing the sale of assessment bonds in the amount of $155,912.29, which is equal to the city's cost of removing the areaway at the mentioned addresses. The cost will be divided equally among the 3 affected properties. And that concludes my presentation. I'll stand by for any questions.
Any questions per the staff presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. We do have someone signed in. Robert Foster, come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Robert Foster, 3308 Belden Drive, St. Anthony, Minnesota. I'm an attorney with an office in St. Anthony, Minnesota. I represent one of the 3 property owners, Hunter's Rock Incorporated. He's the owner of the property at 2303 Kennedy Street Northeast. This is probably a unique special assessment because I don't think in the city of Minneapolis there's very many tunnels going under public streets, but that happens to be what the case is here. I previously mailed, and I think Mr. Hayhoe would agree that he's received my client's objection to the special assessment. This tunnel is a freightway that was established by city ordinance in 1920, and it is now abandoned. The owner in 1920 spent considerable monies to construct the tunnel. Under the ordinance that was passed in 1920, the city retained the right to revoke the right for the tunnels to exist under Kennedy Street. And frankly, we acknowledge the right of the city to remove the tunnel. The question before you today is who should pay for that removal. When we had written communication with Robin Hennessy, an assistant city attorney, back in 2018 regarding this process, Ms. Hennessy was the opinion when she argued in favor of the city's right to remove the tunnel, and I'll just read you what she says in her email to me, that the city's current street reconstruction project is a public good project. And quite frankly, we actually agree with her assessment. The removal of the tunnel is for the public good. The removal of the tunnel has no special benefit to my client. As the council is aware, before my client can be assessed fees for this removal, the city must apply the special benefits test. And that special benefits test is the land receives a special benefit for the improvement, and the assessment does not exceed the special benefit as measured by the increase in market value due to the improvement. As part of my due diligence in this matter, I contacted an appraiser who did a preliminary review of the before and after fair market value of my subject's property, and his conclusion, and he's an MAI appraiser, is that there was no special benefit to my client. In other words, the fair market value did not increase as a result of this tunnel removal. Based on his conclusion in my review of this matter, I would request of this committee that the cost of this project not be assessed to the 3 property owners, but instead be paid out of general funds for the project. I'll entertain any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for that testimony. Anyone else signed in? Anyone else wish to come forward on this matter? I will close the public hearing and maybe get some clarification from legal on our opinion of the matter, given the testimony that we have.
Mr. Chair, committee members, I'm aware of the argument that was raised by Mr. Foster today. As he pointed out, the property owner has preserved its right to appeal, and these legal arguments are appropriate for such an appeal. But I will say that this argument that the special benefit test would prevent this assessment is not true. I absolutely disagree with that legal argument, and again, that's something that can be raised as part of an appeal.
Thank you for the clarification. Any further discussion on this matter? I'm going to move the matter, noting that rights to further dispute will proceed if so elected by the property owners. All in favor say aye. Dissenting nay. That item carries, and we now have dispensed with our public hearings and can go to potentially the highlight of the meeting, the update on this very important document. Director Hutchinson.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is one of many highlights of today's meeting in our overall public works business, but I am very, very pleased to introduce this item. It is a discussion item, and it is a much anticipated presentation of the draft Transportation Action Plan. I'm just going to say a couple of things before I turn it to Kathleen Mayel, who has been the project manager for this for the last 18 months. This is fast work is not always good work, and there's been a lot of anticipation on the release of this draft. And it did take 18 months because we did it with great care and with great coordination. And I think that's evidenced here by the members of our transportation community and our partners who have come today and didn't know they were going to be here. And I'm so happy to have them join us. So I'll just call out that we have members of our Pedestrian Advisory Committee, of our streets, executive directors here, of Move Minnesota, of Move Minneapolis. Our partner, the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development, David Frank, is here. His staff has had such a big hand in this. And if I forgot anyone, please, I'm sorry, just forgive me. It's wonderful to see you here to support Kathleen's presentation. This plan is very much in line with how we see our work in serving the public. Our right-of-way is held in trust for the public. How we plan that and what we do with that is our ultimate leverage in creating common good for the city and to meet our city's goals. And you will see that thread through this entire presentation and as well through the entire pretty lengthy document that I hope you will have a chance to review and comment on. It opens up the comment period today, and we're thrilled to make this milestone and look forward very much to the feedback that will come on the draft. Without any more comment, I will introduce Kathleen Mayel. Kathleen is joined by multiple team members here who have been guiding, contributing, and I'll especially call out Jenny Hager, Director of Transportation Planning and Programming. Over the last couple of weeks, Jenny and Kathleen together have spent a lot of work time and their own personal time ensuring that this draft is ready for release, so thanks to them. Kathleen is going to walk us through a presentation that helps you understand the components of the draft so that you may best comment on it, and I will now turn it to Kathleen Mayel with Transportation Planning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Reich, members of the committee. My name is Kathleen Mayel, Supervisor, Transportation Planner in the Transportation Planning and Programming Division, and I'm really happy to be here today. It's been a long time coming, and we're happy to be at this point. This is what we'll cover today, and just to add briefly to what Director Hutchinson said, I'm so happy for all the support around the room, also happy for the support of several people who aren't in the room right now, and in particular just want to call out several folks within our Transportation Planning and Programming Division who led different parts of this plan. Kelsey Fote, Matthew Deardle, Becca Hughes, Yasna Hudzik-Stanek, Alexander Cato, Katie White, and Ethan Fowley. So many thanks to them as well, and Jenny Hager and Director Hutchinson as well. This work was guided by many, many people, and as evidenced in Appendix B, there were over 190 people who formally contributed to this plan. That includes work of our partner agencies. We had a policy advisory committee, we had a steering committee, which was composed of directors within Public Works as well as CPED. An interagency TAC included members of Hennepin County, MnDOT, Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, the U of M, Metro Transit, and Met Council. We also had many working groups with lots of interagency partnership on those as well, and numerous staff from throughout Public Works. So this is really the culmination, or the start of the culmination of many efforts and many voices throughout this. First and foremost, this plan is rooted in Minneapolis 2040. The comprehensive plan defined what we want to accomplish for transportation over the next 20 years. The Transportation Action Plan takes the first 10 years of that vision and gives us a roadmap to say how we're going to get there. There were 4 main themes within Minneapolis 2040 related to transportation. They were working for a cleaner environment and less impact on our climate, safety for all people traveling on our streets, equity, that our transportation system is reaching toward equitable outcomes, and providing more multimodal options for folks as they get around the city. As Director Hutchinson mentioned, our streets occupy 22% of our land area in the city, and that is a huge opportunity for us to use that land to leverage greater outcomes. We are aiming to have streets be places for people. We're looking to leverage those to meet citywide goals, reflect our values, and create a more sustainable, equitable, safe, and prosperous city. As I mentioned, this is a 10-year plan. This is not a fiscally constrained plan. We intentionally did that in order to open up the vision of what we want to accomplish within our streets over the next 10 years. By doing so as well and having ideas in this plan that aren't yet adequately resourced, it opens up opportunities to leverage partnership and additional opportunities for funding and resources to reach that vision. The actions within this plan are divided into do actions and support actions, and this speaks to the need for partnerships within the next 10 years in order to fully realize this plan. There are 4 key city policies that guide the work of this plan. Minneapolis 2040, as I mentioned, our Complete Streets policy, which prioritizes people as they walk, then as they bike and take transit, and then as they're in a vehicle. Our Vision Zero commitment, which commits us to ending traffic fatalities and severe injuries on our streets, and our Climate Action Plan, which really laid forth the foundation for setting broad climate goals throughout the city in all the work we do. There are 2 related planning efforts that have recently become before you. Our Vision Zero Action Plan, which was adopted in December, and our Americans with Disabilities Transition Plan, which was adopted just last month. And I just want to note these 2. A lot of the engagement we held for the Transportation Action Plan was done in conjunction and at the same time as efforts for these 2 plans. And we intentionally, there was overlapping staff on both of these plans. They were very integrated on the back end. We took information that we heard during public engagement and reflected it within our strategies and actions in this plan. And two examples in particular, within our walking section of this plan, we have an action to undertake a sidewalk inventory, and that was a major theme that was brought up throughout our ADA transition plan as being important to progress that work. And as well, there's an action in our street operations section here to evaluate all 4-lane undivided streets in our city for safety conversions, which is very fundamentally tied with the work of our Vision Zero Action Plan. So this work has been occurring for several years, initially through Minneapolis 2040, a light touch engagement in the summer of 2018 when we were out at open streets in different markets and community events, with really the bulk of our engagement happening during early in 2019, the first half of 2019. We held numerous different open houses, community workshops, business-related focused opportunities, and in particular partnered with NCR to host 7 different community dialogues with the Native American, East African, African American, Southeast Asian, Latino, people with disabilities, and the Minneapolis Youth Congress communities to gather feedback from those folks. We also contracted with 6 different neighborhood and artist organizations, which they helped extend our reach, hosted 30 different events, and really broadened the depth of what we heard and who we heard from within this planning process. We're following today with a mark of a 45-day public comment period, which will be our phase 3 and final phase of engagement for this plan. This is one example of what we heard throughout engagement during phase 2. So this was just one question we asked. We received over 330 responses to this comment, or to this question of what would transform transportation in Minneapolis in the next 10 years. And transit was by far the largest theme that we heard from engagement across the board, and it's evidenced here in this word cloud. So the public comment period will be open through April 22nd. We'll host 3 in-person open houses at the Central Library, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Rec Center, and URock. We'll have an online open house on Facebook, the city's Facebook site. We do have a toolbox available on our website for different community organizations if they would like to host a meeting and submit feedback that way. And then we will be planning on bringing the plan back for final adoption to the council this summer. This is an example of the online, how you can submit. We've got an online interactive website where you can scroll through everything. All the different actions and strategies are up there. You can comment right on the particular action. Just wanted to give an example of what this looked like. Also, all of our priority network maps are up online, and you can comment right on those maps as well. So we anticipate we'll get a lot of comments through this, and we'll collect and respond with the final plan. So a little bit about the plan structure. There are 6 goals that align with the goals of Minneapolis 2040 that guide this work. And climate, we're looking to reshape the transportation system to address climate change using technology, design, and mobility options to aggressively reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Safety, reach Vision Zero. Equity, contribute toward equitable outcomes. Prosperity, provide mobility options that move people and goods through reliable connections, and that we're retaining top talent and growing Minneapolis as the economic engine of the region. For mobility, we're looking to embrace and enable innovation and advancements in transportation to increase mobility and access options for all. And finally, with active partnerships, we're recognizing we need to support with the support of others to create and seize opportunity to achieve those shared goals and responsibilities, and leveraging funding opportunities with national, regional, and other interests that invest in the city. We've got 55 strategies and 283 actions in the draft plan across 7 different topic areas in front of you: walking, bicycling, transit, technology, freight, street operations, and design. This work replaces Access Minneapolis, and this is a broader scope of what we're looking at compared to the prior planning body of documents. So transit, technology, and freight in particular are new focus areas within the transportation planning body of the city here. Within the plan, there are 4 priority network maps. One is our pedestrian priority network. 2 is our all ages and abilities network. This is for bicyclists and other, scooters and other smaller micromobility devices. There's a map of transit priority projects identified within the draft plan, and our truck route network. This truck route network right now is our existing truck route network from 2002, and we have an early action item to update this map. To go to the plan highlights, first, we're looking to reach a mode share goal in pursuit of climate goals, where 3 out of every 5 trips are taken by walking, biking, and transit by 2030. Improve the experience of people walking and rolling. Particular here, a creation of a plaza program. We're looking to include pedestrian street lighting on all reconstruction projects and really focus on street crossings. Realize the city-led transit vision that makes taking transit more attractive and comfortable and affordable for all people. Along those lines, we're looking to have a walk shed, if you will, or a transit coverage. So 75% of residents in the city are within a 5-minute walk of transit, high-frequency transit, and 90% are within a 10-minute walk. Use street design to provide a more comfortable and healthier environment for people. This includes things like more green infrastructure and street trees with our projects. We're planning to act quickly to improve our streets and not always wait for that reconstruction project, but focus on paint and lower cost infrastructure improvements to make change. Increase our all ages and abilities network almost 2-fold, focusing on those low stress protected bicycle and micromobility system for all system users, no matter your age or ability. We plan to update our complete streets policy to include freight, micromobility, and green infrastructure. We plan to adopt a strong curbside management policy to address those competing needs at the curb and really have a more focused and intentional way of proactively managing that very desirable space across multiple needs within our city. And last plan highlight here, implement a network of mobility hubs where you can bring together and connect multiple types of transportation, shared transportation options, transit, bikes, scooters, and cars. So there's 10 different measures that we have in the draft plan. I'm highlighting 3 here. Mode share goal that we just talked about, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of the reasons for adopting a mode shift goal. First, it's in line with our greenhouse gas emissions reduction, and it will improve air quality. It will allow us to allocate space more effectively and efficiently and equitably across modes. We will be able to reduce crash impacts from large vehicles, improve quality of life related to congestion and travel time and what folks are able to do with their commute time, capture new trips for new residents in means other than vehicle or car, and reduce costs for more people through improved access to lower cost transportation options. The greenhouse gas reduction goal is in line with our climate action plan, initially adopted this 80% reduction by 2050 from a 2006 baseline. This was reinforced in Minneapolis 2040, and this chart here shows the transportation sector's portion of that from 2018, which is 24% of our total citywide emissions. And then this is a map which goes in tandem with what I just spoke about in terms of one of the plan highlights and creating greater transit proximity. So this map shows our existing 5 and 10-minute walk sheds to high-frequency transit. And with the work of this plan, we will begin to expand this map and fill in places where there currently are no blue shades. So that's how the plan is structured, and I'm happy to also share with you some of the early impacts in terms of policy, planning, and projects that we can anticipate with the draft plan, or with the final plan when it's adopted. First, in 2020, we plan on updating our Complete Streets policy and creating a curbside management policy. We've got a lot of tools now at our disposal. This is a digital map of our curb and what's allowed when. So we plan on bringing both of those forward within this calendar year. Also in 2020, we're planning to coordinate our transit actions with Metro Transit's Network Next, which is their large region-wide planning effort for transit in the region. And we've been working together with them on our transit section. They know what's in there. They're excited that we are establishing our vision, and we'll work to incorporate that with Network Next. We're also completing the street design guide, which will provide the foundation for our actual capital projects out on the street. And here's some examples of what sort of graphics will be in there. Planning work in the first few years, we will evaluate and amend the CIP to align with the TAP, evaluate 4-lane undivided streets in the city for safety conversions, develop the pedestrian plaza program, and update the truck route map. This list is not exhaustive. We will do other things as well, but this is a highlighting of what we're confident in at this point. In terms of project work this year, test bus pilots on 3 corridors, expand our mobility hub pilot to more locations, institute new speed limits on our city streets, and retime our traffic signals in alignment with that. Begin to incorporate the pedestrian street lighting and green infrastructure into our CIP projects. Install a 4 to 3 lane conversion on a city-owned high-injury street. And install an all ages and abilities bikeway on 1st Ave, Grant, and 2nd Ave South. Within the next few years, looking to install bus-only lanes or other transit advantages on select downtown streets. Complete all the safe street actions that are outlined in our Vision Zero action plan. Incorporate green infrastructure into our capital projects. Include pedestrian lighting on all street reconstruction projects. And advance multiple all ages and ability network protected bikeway projects. So again, really today opens the beginning of a conversation, and we hope lots of people join in and share their thoughts about what they think is in this draft plan, where they want to see it go, And we hope you help us spread the word. Here's a summary of the opportunities that exist to comment on the draft plan. And that is what I have today. Happy to have any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff with the presentation? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Councilmember Gordon?
Well, I'm not sure if I have a question or not. I did want to make a comment, and I'm not sure if right now is the time that you really want a lot of advice or discussion, but I think it's an opportunity for us to give feedback if we had it. And I know that I also had a briefing with staff on this and provided lots of feedback then. I guess the big piece of feedback I'd like to provide now is just, wow. How fantastic. I mean, this just does seem to be leveraging all that work that we did with our climate action plan and our complete streets, and you're even suggesting ways to improve and build on those, and with our 2040 plan. Lots of strategies to look at and go through and talk about and think about. I think there are areas where I think we as council members and policymakers can probably offer input about some things that we hear pressure on from our constituents and things that they want, unique things to our ward. I know that there's two that are kind of at different ends of the spectrum for me. One is, what's the guidance for when we are going to be finishing up or restoring or building out our street infrastructure? So in some unique parts of the city, there's some old areas like the southeast Minneapolis industrial zone that doesn't have the street grid built out yet, or supposedly we're going to restore one over on Nicollet. So do we have enough strategies to guide us in that? I also hear a lot from people about how can I get cars taken off my street? What are the ways to do that? What are we going to do that? We hear a lot about, can we have more bus-only lanes and those things? And I know those are kind of both of those, or more, I think I maybe said 4 or 5 things, but are kind of called out or touched in the plan, but how do we flesh out those details? And I think it's a fantastic opportunity. I'm going to work hard to engage my neighborhoods and my communities and my business groups to look at this and give feedback and get excited about it and build on it. So I look forward to working on it in the days ahead and coming up with lots more ideas. And thanks for all the partners for being here and caring, because we're going to really need a lot of eyes and a lot of people with interest. It's amazing how much passion people in Minneapolis have for transportation planning.
Councilmember Fletcher?
Thank you, Chair. So I want to echo wow. There's some really exciting things here. And I've been getting contacts already from some of my most engaged constituents who have, frankly, I think over the last year been expressing some frustration at what has felt like things taking a while and expressing some impatience, who now I think really recognize themselves in this document. A lot of the best ideas that have come forward from a lot of my constituents are reflected here, and that's really exciting to see. And there's some really ambitious sections of this document. There's things about this that would really be transformative in the best way for our city. So I want to just, really name that. I think there are sections that are less ambitious. I still think we have more of a conversation that needs to happen around snow removal. But I think that in general, there's so much here to like, and there's so much here that will keep us busy for 10 years implementing some very ambitious strategies that I think people are going to be very excited about and that really are going to make people safer. So thank you for laying this forward. I'm really excited to dig into it. I know the first open house is on Wednesday at the Central Library. I'm excited to be there. I've been pushing it out to all of my constituents, and I encourage everybody to participate. So looking forward to this comment period and seeing how we can make this even better.
Thank you. Council President Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love all the wows. I got the chance to serve on the steering committee with Chair Reich, and so I've gotten the chance to say wow a lot of times during the process of developing this plan. And I think that you all at Public Works and the other departments that help contribute have done an extraordinary job of really articulating a strong vision for our city moving forward that centers race equity and climate action, and done it in a way that is specific enough to measure progress with measurable goals about transit access, about mode share, about the changes that we really need to make to realize that vision and those goals. I love that you included the slides today with examples of things that we're doing now that will come in the next 12 months. I think it's really important for the folks who are behind this vision, who are ready to help make the changes that our city needs to make, to see progress in the streets. And so every time we put in a new bus-only lane or a great protected bike facility or a really great pedestrian safety improvement, or a 4 to 3 lane conversion, which sounds like will be coming soon, I think it helps us build momentum and demonstrate that these big ideas can work day to day in people's lives. I think it's clear that in order to realize this vision, we have to invite people to walk, to bicycle, and take transit. It doesn't mean that every single trip will be by those modes. We know people will continue to drive, but we have a responsibility to make it safer and more convenient and more reliable for people who are getting around our city in the ways that support health, that support climate health, and that will help us, get where we need to go as a city to realize all of these goals. And so what we're really doing here is opening up true choice. When you have the choice between a 10-minute car ride versus a 45-minute bus ride, that isn't really a choice for a lot of people. And we know we have a lot of folks who are relying on transit or biking or walking. We're overemphasizing folks who have the opportunity to drive. We're making it easier to drive than it should be if we're really realizing these goals. And so here we have a plan that says, you know what? You should have a real choice to get on the bus and get to work. And no matter where you live in the city, you should be able to walk 5 minutes, get on a high frequency bus, and be connected to your job, to your school, to your kids' activities, to wherever you need to go. If you want to get on your bicycle, you have a real choice that doesn't make it feel like you're taking your life in your own hands to bicycle to work or to bike to school with your kids. If you're walking to the corner store to support local businesses, you're not running across a 4-lane undivided death road. You are casually, calmly walking through your neighborhood, waving hello to a neighbor, doing the things that, again, help keep our community and our climate, our environment safe and healthy. So this, we have a long way to go to get to that point where it is actually a real, safe, convenient, attractive choice. But I think this plan lays out a very specific way to get there. I know excitement is building and growing every time we make an improvement in our streets. I did remind folks in Ward 10 who, by and large, are really excited about this vision. It's a part of the city where people choose to live. If they can't drive for many reasons, if they want to bike or walk or take transit, I did remind folks to remember to say yes to the parts that you like, and we're welcome comments and critiques and ideas about how to go farther. But remember to give that positive feedback, because I know these are big shifts and big changes that are going to take our community really behind us as we experiment, as we learn, as we figure out how to do better to realize the vision here in the Draft Transportation Action Plan. So thank you so much for everything. I'm so excited again to get to be part of this work with Chair Reich, and appreciate, again, to the point about the timeline. I think it was important to take the time to really gather the data, to map out our unsafe streets, to show where we really need to put resources to make change from a lens of race equity, from transportation equity, and really understand our street system first. I think it will build into this plan longevity and make it more sustainable to implement over a long time. So I think those two pieces of continuing to make changes in the streets while we make the careful case for long-term change is really important, and I appreciate that part too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great comments. I suppose wow is the word today. I don't know if it's in the budget to get the royalty rights for the Beck song of that title. To incorporate it for our website, might jazz it up a little bit. We'll talk about that offline. But yeah, I think there's two things I want to highlight. So much was captured in the comments by my colleagues. The document is already in a great shape, great form. So much is imbued within it. But the test now is, and I believe it'll be a very positive result because of this, it's designed for the interaction that's going to go forward in the next 45 days. I mean, I can see people interacting with this, people who are very invested, very technically savvy, in addition to the layperson who also wants to make sure that this plan guides their communities in a certain way and it adds to their mobility options, as Council President Bender so well put. I can see citizen involvement being enhanced because of the thought you put into the document as it stands today, and thereby will be further enhanced with that input for the final product. I have great confidence in that. The other thing is just the proof in terms of the document is that the people are here, our partners are here. They're here right now at this sort of milestone. They've been here with us the whole way. We're talking individual leaders on these topics, institutional leaders on these topics in our community. They're here right now at this milestone. They're going to be with us to really engage the communities through their networks to, again, further imbue this and make it a strong document when it's in its final form. So I just wanted to highlight those two things moving forward. Also, it would be remiss to notice that our non-committee member, but a very engaged council member Schrader's here. And I think the significance of that is not only do you see leadership in terms of our people who are topically identified with transportation, but the coordination that goes in. We have Director Frank here, key to the build form, how it interacts. He's here making sure this document interfaces in a coordinated, not siloed way. We have the chair of all the build form, very engaged, Schrader with zoning and planning, Gordon with housing. So we have this sort of intentional coordination that build form and how we move around are one exercise. And I think that moving forward also will speak to a very strong document when we get to the final phase. So with that, I look forward to the work ahead of us, but very confident given the work that we've done so far.
Thank you.
And so with that, we've dispensed with our agenda, and I will say we are adjourned.